So if you're having the urge to binge eat right now, what I want you to do is to relax and take a few deep breaths with me. 2 more. So now what I want you to do is to stay still and notice the urge to binge eat. Remove any judgment, any guilt, any embarrassment, any shame towards the foods in front of you or the foods you're thinking of binge eating on right now. And then what I want you to think of is, what emotions am I feeling right now? Remember, stressed is not an emotion. Tired is not an emotion. Are you frustrated? Are you scared? Are you embarrassed? Are you humiliated? What I want you to do is to take a look at this color wheel, this emotional color wheel, which I'm putting in right in front of me right now, and try to recognize, what emotion am I feeling right now? Sure, you could be feeling angry, but what's the deeper emotion? You could be feeling scared, but what's a deeper emotion? And then once you've recognized what emotion or emotions you're feeling right now, I just want you to stay still and stay fully present in the moment, because awareness precedes action. Sometimes being aware is able to break any cycle or start the breaking of any cycle, because sometimes we just binge eat mindlessly. And remember, being mindful is the opposite of mindless eating or mindless thoughts. And then what I want you to do is to say these thoughts out loud, which I'm going to be linking in the description of this video so you can have a little reminder. So this feeling is only temporary and it will pass. I can cope with this urge in a healthy way. I have the power to make choices that are good for me. Engaging in any activity can help distract me from this urge. I am not alone. Others have successfully managed similar urges. So I'll be linking those in the description of this video so you can keep on reminding yourself, or every time you have an urge to binge eat, that you can always just remind yourself of these and say these out loud. Now I'm going to be talking about the 3 actions, the practical tips to help break through this binge urge. So number 1 tip is what's called cold water immersion. So what happens is, when you have the urge to binge eat, if you're having the urge to binge eat right now, head over to a sink or wherever there's water, turn it to the cold setting and literally splash yourself with cold water. Because what happens when you're doing cold water immersion, when you're splashing yourself with cold water, is you're triggering the mammalian dive reflex. Basically, this is a survival instinct where when we jump into the sea and it's freezing cold, our body lowers its heart rate just as a natural way of preserving energy, preserving heat. And what this does is, if you splash yourself with cold water, you're kind of tricking your body. Okay, I need to calm myself down. I need to slow down my heart rate. It'll reduce any anxiety, adrenaline, whatever stress is going on, and just turn on the parasympathetic system, which is the rest and digest mode, not the fight or flight mode. So the second practical tip is called urge surfing. So urge surfing goes by the idea that urges, they only last for around 30 minutes. And once you can get through those 30 minutes, then the urge will fade away or massively weaken, that you can break through it. So urge surfing, you have to implement coping mechanisms. So any coping mechanism that has nothing to do with food. So maybe just going for a walk, maybe coloring, anything to keep you distracted. Non-competitive gaming, watching a YouTube video without any food right next to you. And I'll be linking in the description my coping mechanisms ebook, which is completely free, and it has 100 coping mechanisms that you can use, which you can put into your toolkit or into your belt of urge surfing. So once you find your coping mechanism, try to implement it and then hold at it for 30 minutes. Sometimes you might find yourself that you're just so distracted that you ignore the urge to binge. But remember that this is only temporary. It's not going to solve your binge eating urges. The more you implement urge surfing, initially you might binge eat initially, but you're separating the gap between urge and action. And the longer you can separate this gap, then the easier in the future urge surfing will be used to implement, and it'll be easier to break through these urges to binge eat. Easier, much easier. They actually implement this for people who are trying to overcome alcohol or people who are trying to overcome smoking, but it's still very applicable for binge eating. So try to implement urge surfing as much as possible every time you have an urge. Hold yourself for around 30 minutes, find an activity which is non-food related, not cooking or something like that, and then implement it as soon as possible. So the third and final tip is to implement what's called opposite action. So opposite action is more used after the binge. So after the binge, when you have difficult emotions or emotions that you really don't like to feel, guilt, shame, embarrassment, anxiety, anger, then your emotional brain is massively heightened and your logical brain is less regulated. So you're less likely to use your logical brain, more likely to be run on your emotions, and you can make rash decisions. So opposite action, if you have the urge to do something like, oh, that's it, I'm gonna jump onto a very restrictive diet to make up for all of this, do the opposite of that. Because if you do the opposite of what you're urged to do emotionally, then it's gonna lead to a different outcome. So if you jump onto a very restrictive diet after a binge eating episode, which you're naturally just urged to do, then you're gonna have a binge eating episode later down the line. So what if you do the opposite of that? We continue eating breakfast, you continue eating lunch, we have regular meals which are nice and nourishing, delicious, protein, fats, carbs, and fiber, and see, it might lead to a different outcome. It might not. We never know until we try. So if you want to learn how to overcome the root cause of binge eating, then check this video out. But let me know in the comments, was this helpful? Was it not? Would you want me to make more videos on this? And I'll see you in the next video. See ya!